Hey, listeners. Before we jump into today's episode, I have something really special to share. As we kick off season 2 of Hosta La Vista, we're incredibly grateful to announce our very first podcast sponsor, Hosta hybridizer, plantsman, and all-around legend in the Hosta world, Bob Solberg of Green Hill Hostas. Bob has spent decades introducing some of the most beloved hostas and gardens around the world, and through Green Hill Hostas, he's built one of the most respected specialty nurseries anywhere. But beyond the plants, Bob has always been someone who believes in sharing knowledge, supporting the hosta community, and helping new gardeners discover the joy of these incredible plants. And now he's helping us do the same. Bob's sponsorship is allowing us to invest in promoting the podcast through podcast apps like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and social media, so more gardeners, collectors, and hosta lovers can discover the stories and people behind this amazing plant. To put it simply, Bob believes in what we're doing here at Hosta La Vista, and that means the world to us. So Bob, if you're listening, thank you. Thank you for supporting this little podcast, for everything you've done for the hosta community, and for helping us spread the love of hostas a little further. And to our listeners, if you're not already familiar with Green Hill Hostas, you'll definitely want to check them out. You can visit Bob's website at hostaguru.com. Now, on to the show. Hello, and welcome to Hosta La Vista, the podcast where the shade is cool, the leaves are lush, and the friendship's perennial. We are your hosts. I'm Betsy Peterson.
And I'm Mandy Olson, two hobbyist sisters who love this plant as much as you do.
Join us each week as we dig into all things hosta, the plant affectionately known as the friendship plant. Welcome back to Hosta La Vista. This is our inaugural episode of Season 2. Last season, we had the privilege of talking with 20 amazing hosta experts, and we're glad you're back with us for a new season.
Today, we are honored to welcome a true legend in the hosta world, Bob Solberg, often affectionately known as the Hosta Guru and owner of Green Hill Farm, one of the most respected hosta nurseries in the country. Winner of the Alex J. Summers Distinguished Merit Award in 2003, the Eunice Fisher Distinguished Hybridizer Merit Award in 2008, and 2 Benedict Garden Performance Awards, one for Curly Fries and another for Sharp Dressed Man.
For decades, Bob has been shaping the modern hosta landscape through thoughtful hybridizing, careful selection, and an unwavering commitment to quality. His introductions have earned national recognition, influenced collectors and breeders alike, and set a standard for substance, color, and garden performance. Beyond the plants themselves, Bob represents something even more important: stewardship of knowledge. His experience spans generations of hosta evolution, from classic cultivars to today's cutting-edge introductions.
Bob, we are so grateful you're joining us today. Welcome to Hosta La Vista.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm kind of flattered by the whole thing.
Great.
Well, that's same, ditto.
Yeah. Well, we have so many questions, but we probably ought to start at the beginning. Can you tell us a little about your early garden experiences? Was there a mentor or influence that shaped your early path?
Well, my grandmother gardened. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, and as you know, it's a tropical wonderland down there, and people grow all kinds of plants. And then my father got into gardening, and he actually collected palm trees, and so I was sort of involved in that, and had a nursery when I was a kid. They grew palm trees from seeds until Hurricane Betsy blew it away. But it was a fun thing. But even then, I didn't sell the plants retail. I wholesaled everything. So anyway, that's sort of where I got started. I just sort of always liked plants.
So when did Green Hill Farm come into the picture? Was it always hostas, or did you start out as something else?
Well, it started once I got out of graduate school, and originally we bought a piece of land, and it was going to be a farm. But that didn't work out so well. And so it became a nursery. I started with rhododendrons and azaleas, but they took up too much room and too much watering. So I started looking at perennials, and I was very fortunate to meet up with Loleta Powell, and she really encouraged me to do hostas and daylilies and iris. But I chose hostas. It just seemed like the right thing to do at the time.
Hmm. I don't know who Loleta Powell is. Is that a name in the hosta world?
Yeah, she had one of the largest perennial nurseries in North Carolina. She's introduced several hostas. She did, and she would buy every new hosta that she could get. So I could go down there and every year in the spring and see all the newest plants and not have to buy them, and decide what I liked and what I didn't like. So it was great, and she lived to be like 93 years old.
Oh,
And so I spent quite a bit of time with her. First, she was mentoring me, and then I was mentoring her at the end. So it was a great relationship.
Oh,
oh, that's very cool. Did you always intend to hybridize, or did that come later?
Oh, well, once I started going to national conventions, I found out pretty quickly that all the hybridizers rode on the same bus. Back then, in the beginning, we only had two buses or three buses. And so they would all sit in the back of the bus and talk about hybridizing. And I had nothing to say. And I found out that if I wanted to participate and have them listen to me, I had to make some crosses. And so that's what I did. I started with that with an August moon cross with Cacudii, which is they don't bloom together, so it's a very interesting cross. And I immediately they said, "Well, this guy's okay." So it just sort of went from there.
Did anything come of that cross? Any named plant?
No name plants. I wish I had kept some. I wanted the yellow ones that look like Cacudii. I've always wanted a yellow Cacudii, but they didn't grow. And back then, for me, the plants had to grow for me to introduce them. They couldn't be slow. These days, it's different. People introduce plants all the time that don't grow. And it's okay because we can tissue culture them and then you can put them in a pot and you can admire them forever and don't have to do anything to them. But no, back then, everything that I introduced needed to grow, needed to increase because we increased everything by division.
Hmm.
have you heard of Cacudii, Betsy?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. I need to look it up. I just wrote
Yeah,
it down.
it's a species from Japan,
Oh,
southeast Japan on the islands. Now, it's pretty widespread, actually.
huh.
What you said it's a yellow. What other characteristics does it have?
Well, it got yellow from August moon.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
So
Okay.
across,
I got
Yeah, yeah.
and
I have
so
August moon. I love that one.
yeah,
yeah, it's a great plant. It really
yeah.
is.
So is Cacudii a long cylindrical or is it more heart-shaped or
It's sort of a long pointed leaf with
okay.
lots of veins usually.
Okay.
Um, it's not an unattractive plant, but it needs some work to fix it up a little bit.
Okay.
Well, can you tell us about guacamole? It's so popular and in just about every garden. Where did that one come from? What's its story?
Well, guacamole is a spore of fragrant bouquet, and I got a plant from Q&Z Nursery, and the plants came from Q&Z Nursery originally. And the thing that made it so popular was, first of all, the name, because it kind of looks like guacamole. And and the other thing was the marketing. The plant, if you tissue culture it, you get a lot of off types. You might only get one third true plants, something like that.
Hmm.
It's just the way it is.
Hmm.
But I named the green plant fried green tomatoes, and I named the yellow plant fried bananas, and therefore people could sell three plants. So the tissue culture labs loved it.
Huh.
And the people in Europe and everywhere, they started producing it like crazy because they get three plants for the price of one and they didn't
Huh.
throw away anything. So
Yeah.
it was sort of a sneaky marketing thing to get the plant out. And that's really the plant that put me on the map as far as a nursery. That was one very good to us.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah, I love the fragrant ones. Yep.
Is that the one you have growing by your garage, Mandy, in a pot? Or is that the one up by the
Uh,
mailbox?
no, it's over by the dog pen area. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just the fragrant bed. Yeah, it's full of
Oh,
your
that's
stuff.
right. That's right. It's
Bob, yeah.
all the food named ones are in the one
All the
same
ones.
bed.
All the
Yes.
food name ones, yeah.
Yes, I love
So
them.
speaking of the food named hostas, how did you come up with that idea?
Well, it started with guacamole because I thought the plant looked like guacamole, and then the other two food names just sort of followed from it. But I have a couple criteria when I name a hosta. First of all, the the hosta should look like the name. You wouldn't have fried bananas be a green plant or fried green
Mhm.
tomatoes be a yellow plant. It has to sort of look like the plant. And the other thing, there needs to be something else about the plant name that connects with you, has a relationship with you. Fried Green Tomatoes is a movie that a lot of women like.
Mhm.
I have never seen it. I don't know anything about it, but um, fried bananas is a food that,
Okay.
people like and things like that. So a lot of my names are like that. And then once the food thing got going, it just got crazy. And I really think it's cool because I really believe that it's Hosta people that started really creating this tendency to name plants after food. And now everybody does it. You buy shrubs, you buy trees, you buy everything. It's all food names.
Huh.
And so I really think the Hosta world is responsible for the food thing. So I'm glad to be a little bit of a part of that.
You're a
That's cool.
trailblazer in a lot of ways, but that's definitely one of them for sure. Well, very cool.
Bob, people call you a visionary in this industry, but I want to know about the literal vision. When you're walking through a trial bed with 10,000 tiny green leaves that all look identical to the untrained eye, what is it that physically stops you in your tracks? Is it a color? Is it a texture? Is it just a gut feeling?
Well, I go through phases. I get infatuated with a certain hosta trait. For a while, I was crazy about blue hostas, and then I got sick of them. And then I got into yellow hostas with red petioles, and I'm pretty much sick of those now. Um, the most recent thing that I've been just crazy about is ruffles, and I'm trying to get over that really because we've been ruffled to death lately as far as
Mhm.
hostas go. So I'm kind of looking for something new, and that's why I've sort of moved on to flowers. And that's what kind of excites me now. Flowers that are particularly yellow flowers. I'm doing a lot of breeding with that. So, but anyway, that's what it is. It's an emotional thing in a
Hmm.
lot of ways.
You
Can
said
I ask?
yellow flowers, huh? Are there a lot of hostas with yellow flowers?
No, but there will be.
Okay, good.
Let's put it this way. I have a lot of them
Do
right
you?
now.
Oh, I'd
Yeah.
love to see some. That sounds
Yes. They all
interesting.
sort of look the same, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't think
Uh,
I've seen a yellow flower either. That's
Yeah.
very cool. Can I just interject? This isn't a question on there, but I'm just dying to know. When we interviewed Don Rawson, I had asked him about Alligator Rock, and
Mhm.
he said, "No, I would that wasn't anything special to me." But Bob walked through, and he said that one's pretty neat. And I managed to find one at the Minnesota hosta plant sale two
Right.
summers ago, and it's growing like crazy in my yard. So what made you, pick that one out?
First of all, it's a rich dark green color,
Mhm.
and there aren't that many hostas like that. Plus, with the substance, um, the puckers all line up in rows, so
Hmm.
it's a very neat looking plant. It's not a messy plant. A lot of puckered hostas are wild looking. They're contorted and
Yeah.
messy, but it's very neat. And it was in bloom, and the flowers are just the right height, and they're pure white.
Yeah.
So you get the white flowers with the dark green plant, and it makes a beautiful package. And you're right, the plant does grow amazingly good for a plant that looks like that. Normally you think it would be slow, but it grows real well. We have
Huh.
real good luck with it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, selfishly, I just thought I'm going to ask if I can because I love that plant. It's one of my favorites. I can't wait to see what it looks like at maturity.
Hmm.
Well, I've heard you found some of your best plants in places where other people had already looked and moved on. Can you tell us what criteria you look for in a potential winner?
Believe it or not, it's marketability. I have to think I can sell the plant. I have to think other people will like the plant, not just me. And so frequently I will acquire plants or hybridize plants that I'm not all that fond of, but I know other people will be. So marketability, since I'm in the nursery business, is a big part of all of that for me, and it goes into almost everything we do. The plant has to be a good nursery plant. It has to behave itself in the nursery. It has to grow at a certain rate. It can't grow sideways and eat its neighbors. It can't have floppy scapes. It's got to be a complete package plant. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm a little more generous with my own seedlings because I want to get those out.
Mhm.
But like we talked about, alligator rock, it's that kind of plant. It's a really, really nice, well-behaved plant.
Well behaved. I like that. Well behaved.
Well, how has the nursery business changed over the course of your life?
How long do you have? I've been doing this for 45 years now. And so when we started, we basically started before there was plastic. There weren't any containers. Everybody grew all the hostas in the ground. You'd go to a nursery, they'd be lined out. Someone would come and dig them up with a fork and lay them in a cardboard box, and you take them home.
Hmm.
And now everything's in a container, special soil mixes, big production, all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that part's changed a lot. Tissue culture has changed everything too. We don't really divide them anymore, except special ones. But we tissue culture them so we can create big numbers and get the price down. If we didn't have tissue culture, they'd all be hundreds of dollars, and nobody'd have any. So it's great. People can have these huge collections, and they're paying $15-$20 a plant instead of hundreds of dollars a plant like they used to. So that's really changed. And then probably the worst part about it is it's very expensive to tissue culture hostas. And we have big nurseries that can do it in big numbers at a lower cost, but they can only do so many. Nurseries like me, I have to pay a lot more for the plants to get them done, but I can grow a lot more diversity because I'm growing smaller numbers. And we really need, some more labs. We need some more people like that to help with the production.
Hmm.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait. Before we move on. So tissue culture, that's been going on for 40 years, is that right? Or
Mark
30?
Sillis started it at Walter's Gardens in 1978.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. Okay.
So
But just in general, the number of nurseries that are capable of producing tissue cultured plants is less than the demand for the plants. Is that
right, for in some ways, yes. There are labs all over the world, a couple big ones in China that produce huge numbers of plants. The minimum order is 10,000 or 20,000,
Wow.
which is much more than I want to grow. So it's the little specialty labs that you need that will produce hundreds of plants instead of thousands of plants.
okay?
And that way, you know, I grow about, what do we grow? 50,000 plants a year, something like that. And we have that many in the nursery. And if I'm buying 20,000, I can only grow three. But if I'm growing 200, I can grow a whole lot more. And so that's the thing. But that cost is much higher.
Okay. So are you also a tissue culture lab?
No, I contract with labs.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I do everything. I get all my plants come in a plastic bag, stage three. They're perfectly sterile. They've never been outside of test tube,
Hmm.
and then I acclimate them to the real world and grow them on and produce two products. Basically, we produce liners, which are plugs, and then we grow those on another year and sell bare root plants too. But that's the two main wholesale items that we sell.
Okay. Okay.
And each one of those that come in the bag will be true to its, its mother plant, or is there a chance that it
No.
just won't? No, so there is
No.
there's still some that,
Some
yeah.
are. Some
Okay.
are. Like occasionally you'll get a spore off a solid colored plant.
Okay.
But generally, which is a good thing, but
Yeah.
generally some plants are not stable at all.
Okay.
They're a nightmare. So
Huh.
like I said, they have to be well behaved
Huh.
nursery plants, and some of them aren't.
Huh.
So
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Bob, it's time for a fun segment we do on the pod called Rapid Fire This or That. We'll give you two choices of things to pick from. You just go with your gut and tell which one you'd pick. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. More reliable sport producer, Limit Snap or First Blush?
Well, we have gotten several sports from First Blush. White edge forms, white center forms, some that come up white and turn green, and now they have these that are the reds moved around in the leaf. But none of them have grown very well. None of them are good enough to even market.
Hmm.
But lemon sap's been wonderful. It's a wonderful plant. We got the green centered form. It's yellow, and we got the green center form, which is avocado toast. And then from that, we got an all green plant, which is Christmas toast. That's not the toast you eat. That's not a food name. Actually, it's a sports bar name. A lot of our hostas now are sports bar
Nice.
hostas, like Tiki Bar and things like that.
Uh,
But being all green and not yellow, the purple is much more intense in the plant. And it's a plant we sell probably the most of at the national convention every year, a green plant. Who'd guess, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
And then now, last year, I found a sport of that has a pure white edge, which is
Oh.
gorgeous. If we could just get it to grow, it is just a gorgeous plant. So,
Huh.
so it's been a very good sport producer, but a lot of yellow ones are.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't realize yellows made good sports. Huh. Cool.
Interesting. All right. Better cupping on a leaf. What's mine is yours or Bluebird of Happiness?
Well, they're really two different kinds of plants.
Yeah.
What's mine and yours is in memory of Jack Bard. It was his plant. He called it mine, but we kind of changed the name a little bit. And it has very nice cupping and ruffling, and it's a very unique deep blue color. And it's diploid. It has two sets of chromosomes. The Bluebird of Happiness is tetraploid. And so it's more folded than cupped, really. It's very, very thick. It's sort of a very unusual kind of plant.
Sun tolerance in bright gardens. One trip salad bar or lettuce wrap?
Actually, neither of them. They both. One trip salad bar comes from Lemon Kiss, which was bred to be bright yellow in the shade. And you put it in the sun, it turns white. Now, one trip salad bar is better because the center's green, so it'll hang in there a little better. And the lettuce wrap is yellow that greens up a little bit, but still, they're shade plants, and they don't have big heavy roots to handle the dry conditions.
All right. If you had to register only one again, curly fries or sharp dressed man?
Well, I hate to say this because Sharp Dressed Man's named after my son, but it would be curly fries because curly fries, like First Blush, is a plant that sort of created a new genre of plants, and now we're overrun with curly fry plants, and some of them are magnificent. Some of the stuff coming out of Walter's Gardens and Hans has done. They're really nice. They're improvements certainly over curly fries, but we had to get there first.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's one of my philosophies is I take my best plants and I introduce them so that other people can breed with them and carry the line on further. Like I said, I get bored with things and I don't want to fuss with it for a long time. So we'll let someone else turn it into something really good.
Hmm.
But curly fries is a wonderful plant.
That's great.
At the Winter Symposium in Wisconsin, you had gotten up and given a talk about transitioning away from some aspects of your nursery business and moving on to other areas. Will you talk about that a little bit?
Okay. Originally, if you only sell one thing, one plant, you have to sell it every way you can think of. And that's what we have done for all these years. We have actually created things like club plants uh, for hosta clubs and different marketing kinds of things because all we were selling was hostas. And everybody said you can never make it just selling hostas. Well, you can. You just got to sell them a whole lot of different ways. But now, as the wholesale business has grown so much, now that we're in the liner business, it's just much simpler to do two things instead of eight. And there's enough profit in it. I think we can do it. So we will always have people come to the nursery for a few days a year. We'll have our Lucky 13 sale in August because it's a blast. And we will hopefully at some day not vend at national conventions. But I mean, it's a process, and we're doing a little bit at a time. We've got Josh Spees out in the country, Gardening Gifts, selling some of our plants this year for us, so we don't have so much retail. And so for all the orders he's gotten, we sent them to him dormant, and we put them all in one big box, and that was it. I had to ship one box for all those orders, as opposed to like 100 boxes.
Mhm.
So it's and again, it's just my mentality. I'm a wholesaler, I always have been. So
Mhm.
anyway, so we're headed that way.
Hmm. Well, you do a lot of travel for your work all over the country. Are there any cities or towns that you just love and can't wait to go back and visit again? What makes them special to you?
I just love Iowa. I go to Iowa 2 or 3 times a year, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And I've been there all different times except January. I'm from Miami, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snow. A little snow's fine, but not Iowa snow.
Mhm.
But yeah, I even you know, Josh in the country is near Independence.
Mhm.
And for several years now, I've even looked on Zillow at Independence real estate ads.
Oh, nice.
Um, and it's very inexpensive, and it's very tempting until I see the pictures this time of year where there's 2 feet of snow in the people's driveway. And it's like, I don't think I could handle that. But I love Iowa. It's beautiful in the spring if you go in May when the leaves are coming out, and then in the summer when all the prairie flowers and the rolling hills and the corn, and it's really nice. And I love being out there with Josh and the other Hosta people. There's lots of Hosta people in Iowa, and they're more back to growing things in the ground or small town kind of people. And I'm a small town kind of guy.
Hmm.
I've heard you say that demand often outstrips supply when it comes to hostas. How do you go about trying to keep up with demand these days? Are hostas having a moment?
I think hybridizers are having a moment.
Hmm.
We have lots of hybridizers now, and most all of them would like to see at least some of their plants produced on a big scale. See them in other people's gardens, see them in garden centers, things like that. Um, and so, from that point of view, we have a surplus of good hostas, and we don't have enough nurseries like us to propagate them and take a risk on them and market them and all of that. Um, Most people don't want to do all the marketing. They'll do some shipping and all of that, but it's the marketing that it's kind of a full-time job. So it's a little different. And most of the really big nurseries only introduce a small handful of new plants every year. So we try to introduce, probably 20 to 30 new hostas a year, which is quite a few, but not near what Q and Z and Shady Oaks used to do. At one point, they were between the two of them were introducing 400 new hostas a year, but
Wow.
that was too many. So
Yeah.
we need to be somewhere in between.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm new at hybridizing and I'm looking at a seed bed of 50 first year seedlings, give me a tip from the Solberg playbook. How do I pick the alphas of the group? What should I be looking for in the structure that tells me that specific plant's going to be a beast in 3 years? And what do I cull?
Okay, first of all, I believe in hybridizing for a goal. So if you have 50 seedlings from a cross, you have an idea of what you would like to get from that. And if it doesn't look like that, then you get rid of it. It's that pretty simple. But first of all, it has to grow.
Yeah.
It can't just sit there. If it's a little weeny thing, I don't care how pretty it is. If it's the run of the litter, you don't go with that. Um, but then you have to see what your goal is. If it's ruffles, do you pick the most ruffled one? If it's blue, do you pick the bluest one? What's your number one trait that you're going for? And usually it's two or three traits, so you have to sort of, choose that way. But I'm always very focused on, what I want to get from every cross, and so that's the way we do it. Goals are important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bob, what keeps you excited about hybridizing?
Watching the little seedlings come up out of the ground every spring. It's the same thing that all hosta people feel. It's the best time of the year when your hostas start coming up. But imagine you have all these little things and you have no idea what they're going to look like. And you're very hopeful because when you planted those seeds, you were hoping they would turn into something. And the first year, they all sort of look the same, but then it's that second year, and especially the third year. We usually can start to cull in the third year. But yeah, it's the first 2 weeks when they start coming up that really keeps you doing it and seeing new things that no one's ever seen before. So it's pretty exciting.
Mandy, have you had any luck with your new little babies this year?
Oh yeah, they're all looking really nice, but after hearing what Bob said, I'm starting to realize that some of these ones that I really liked that I put in the ground 2 years ago. So you're saying by the third year, if it's kept its streaks and it's a good looking plant, it probably won't lose the streaks after year three.
No, they all are going to lose their streaks.
Are they?
That's
Oh,
the nature of the plant. It doesn't like being streaked.
uh,
Some stay a long time,
yeah.
but you'll have to work at it. No, variegated stuff is different. Yeah, I don't do any variegated breeding at all.
No?
Everything that I do is solid color.
Huh.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
just can't do it. I've tried. I just have no interest in it. So
Hmm.
I'm
Okay.
weird.
No, no, that's interesting. Everybody seems we talk to seems to have their own thing, whether it's, colors or corrugation or fragrance or, yeah. Yeah, that tracks with the other hybridizers we've talked with.
If someone plants one of your introductions this spring, what do you hope they experience?
I hope they experience sort of a spiritual connection with the plant. Um, we love hostas. I don't know many plant people that say, you know, we love daylilies or we love iris. I mean, they may, but I mean, we really love hostas.
Mhm.
That's why we can't throw any away. Daily people have no trouble digging up their third of their daylilies every year and giving them away. We would never do that with hostas, right? We love our hostas. They're part of our family. And I believe they kind of love us too. I think there's really something that we feel, again, especially in the spring, but we share their joys in life, and when it gets hot in the summer and dry, they suffer and we suffer, and they sleep in the winter, and you guys up north sleep in the winter too, and we just keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I think I think we love them because we live like them.
Mhm. Yeah.
Bob, what advice would you give a nursery owner just starting on this journey?
Ask for help. Sometimes it's very hard to do that because you think you know the answers and everything. Nursery people generally are wonderful about helping. Lots of people help me. Um, where to get pots, where to get soil, what kind of soil to use, all those kinds of things. When people come to me, I will tell them 95% of everything I know about hostas. I got to keep 5% for me. But I will help anybody. And I always say, just call me, just ask. Um, and, uh, and that goes for people buying hostas too. If you see one of our hostas and you're not sure whether you want to buy it or not, just email me or call me and I'll tell you. I tell lots of people you don't want that hosta, because it's not right for them. So,
Mhm.
but I think that's the number one thing that you need to do. And then you need to be different somehow. You have to have your own little niche,
Yeah.
your own little deal. So
Sure. Yeah. Well, can you tell us about the American Hosta Growers Association Hosta of the Year change that is happening right now?
well, first of all, it's not the American Hosta Growers Association
Oh.
Hosta of the Year anymore.
Oh.
That organization doesn't exist.
Hmm.
Um, it was something which we started. I started, I don't know, Bruce Benny and I started, I don't know, 40 years ago or whatever it was. But it sort of outlived its usefulness. Things change, people change, the goals, we achieved all the goals, and then people don't need it anymore. Um, but the American Hospice Society has taken it over, and it's their own uh, thing now. The growers, for the growers, it was a marketing tool, and it was accepted throughout the world as a marketing tool, and became quite the success. For the AHS, I'm not sure what their goal is. They just want sort of a suggestion of a good hosta that you might get. And that worries me a little bit because I would like the hosta of the year to be something new, something progressive, something that we we haven't seen before, something that's moving ahead. The curly fries kind of plant, something like that, that people can get all excited about. People that don't know hostas can get all excited about it. I'm afraid they may not go in that direction. And I also think it's a shame that they're using the Benedict Award winners. Those plants already have won an award. They don't need to win another one, or be selected again. It's just like an add-on thing. There's lots of hostas. I believe in
Mhm.
lots of awards for hostas, lots of awards for people. I think awards are good things, not bad things.
Generally speaking, wouldn't the hosta of the year need to be something that can grow pretty well and have great appeal and availability all across the nation in order for it to be on that list?
Right. We always the criteria was it had to grow well in all parts of the country. It had to be available in reasonable numbers, and that's sort of what did it in with us. The reasonable numbers became 20,000 as opposed to
Wow.
2,000. And so if you weren't a big grower, none of your plants would ever get in.
Mm.
Um, and the other thing, it was started out as a $15 house. I think it ended up being a $15 to $20 hosta.
Mhm.
Uh, but that's the idea. So we don't want, for example, what's the next one? Halcyon or something. The Halcyon is the one
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
It's a $5 hosta, you
Mm.
know, and That's not good enough. It should be more valuable than that. And it's an old plant. I mean, it's a great plant. There's nothing wrong with it. It's widely available. It does check that box, but it doesn't check the other boxes based on our criteria. Now, the AHS has their own criteria. It checks all their boxes. So I'm not criticizing the selection. I'm just saying we did it differently. That's all.
Okay.
Ours was a marketing tool to introduce new hostas to people who just didn't know about them. So
Sure.
but it was my baby, so I'm a little upset about it, a little protective.
Oh.
That's all.
Oh,
Well, yeah, for sure. Did I see that there's something about Clear Fork River Valley? Is that one? Or maybe I just read about it in the
That
Hosta
one's
Journal.
that will be one. I think it's next year.
Next year. Okay,
Oh,
maybe that's
Yes,
what it is.
because Guacamole won the Benedict Award, and it's already been Hosta of the Year, so it can't be Hosta of the Year again. So they chose another Benedict Award winner. The
Okay.
problem with that plant, it's not going to be available.
Yeah.
yeah.
And nobody's going to, it's very slow, and nobody's going to tissue culture it. I mean, the little people aren't, and
Yeah.
the big people aren't.
Oh.
So that's going to be the problem with that. And so that's sort of some of the issues I brought up
Okay.
to the HS, but and I have an article in the journal you can read that's
Yeah, I
nice
did.
and polite.
Yeah.
So
Well, so I'm just trying to connect the dots here. It sounds to me like the the popularity might not gel with the availability like it used to with, say, guacamole or something, where I could go to, my local garden center and there'd be a whole collection of the Hosta of the Year. And then I could just grab it and take it home right away. But it sounds to me like it might be much harder to find if they're picking some of these hostas that are difficult to tissue culture and difficult to grow.
yeah, I think that's true. You won't see them just everywhere.
Okay.
And the nice thing about the growers doing it, we would have those plants, but then one year we'd have a small market plant. And when World Cup was the Hosta of the Year, the big nurseries decided they weren't going to grow it for one reason or another. And so, I mean, we produced 6,000 of them, but that was it. It wasn't nearly enough to put in all the stores everywhere. They
Yeah.
want to do, hundreds of thousands of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to balance those two things. And I think it's, since ours was a voted on kind of thing by the membership, we would get different ideas at different times, and it evolved some. So it wasn't sort of a standard thing like the Benedict Award will always be the Host of the Year.
Yeah.
But I think, it's fine. It's glad we have one. And hopefully it'll work out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Bob, we just want to say thank you so much for spending time with us today. Your impact on the Hosta world is enormous, and we are grateful you shared your story. Is there a piece of advice you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Hostas are supposed to be fun. I've trademarked that. And there are days when they're not, but hostas are supposed to be fun. And I think that's what we all should strive for. We shouldn't fight with each other. We shouldn't argue about silly things. Let's go have a good time. Because hostas are supposed to be fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and to our listeners, whether you've listened to every episode of season 1 or if you're just tuning in today, be sure to click follow on Spotify or however you're listening to us and share Hosta La Vista with a fellow Hosta lover. Leave us a review. Those really do help the podcast. Plus, we love hearing from you.
And until next time,
Hosta
Hasta la
La
vista,
Vista,
baby.
baby.
Thanks, Bob. That was a lot of fun.
It was fun for me, and
Good.
hopefully you can clean that up a little bit. My
Yeah.
rambling.
Special thanks to Green Hill Hostas for sponsoring Season 2 of Hosta La Vista. Green Hill Hostas, home of great new hostas.